Welcome back again, everybody, to this oh so familiar world. Behind me, I have the long-awaited version 1.2 of my multi-item sorter, and it fixes one of the biggest bugs that a lot of people were having with the sorter, which is their filters just randomly breaking and items just going everywhere they're not supposed to go, and there's not really one thing that ties down what the bug was, but I'm happy to announce that it is fixed in this new version. If you built the previous version of the sorter and it's working, then there is no reason for you to build this. You could probably click off the video right now. Just be happy that the sorter worked in your world. If you are one of the unfortunate people who was having a lot of issues, you could consider building this version, because this version has been tested by multiple people on multiple different servers with like different plugins and stuff like that. I can't confirm that I got all of the edge cases because it's really hard to test a sorter that works on your computer because you have to kind of test it on other people's computers. So that was a whole headache. There was a bunch of other stuff going on that I don't want to get into, but that's where I was. That's where we are right now, though. We've got a finished sorter right here. And you've seen it kind of working away in the background. You can see that there's a complete redesign of the slices and a complete redesign of the input system. So basically, everything has been looked at and everything has been cleaned up to make it work better in extreme lag scenarios. So let's follow one of these carts, see where it's going. Okay, it looks like we're getting miscellaneous items coming in right now. Possibly. Yeah, we should have some oak planks coming in here. What else have we been sorting while I've been talking? We've got some oak planks, it looks like, is what's going through. Here's the same sorters that we had in the last video. At the end of the last video, you can see that this does work with multiple items. There was a lot of people wondering about that because I never actually demonstrated it having multiple items. It also does work with 16 stackables, and I've got a little lever right here that I can flip to turn it into 16 stackable mode, and you can see that it takes 14 items instead of 32 items, so that I'll let it work with 16 stackables. And yeah, that's basically what I've got going on. The biggest thing that has changed with the input system is, well, a lot, but basically the old version had this dispenser firing down, and then the minecarts were sucking the items directly out of this dispenser, and there was another hopper down here that would take an item out, and the tolerances and like the timings on that circuit were very tight, and that didn't really work on a lot of servers that had some TPS issues or like plugins that affected minecarts in like very fine, minute ways. So this has been reworked to be hoppers that the minecart takes it out of. So there will never be a situation where your minecart accidentally picks up 5 items or accidentally picks up 3 items and completely breaks everything. Speaking of completely breaking everything, we have a new circuit over here. This is in place of the item elevator that used to go up through the middle. We now have a bubble elevator, and it filters out any garbage items. So if your sorter does somehow break, let's say for instance, we accidentally get some, how would we do this? We accidentally get some items going into the minecart chest that aren't supposed to go there. So this would cause the entire thing to break because we would have a non-minecart item coming up, getting into these chests, then it would come down, get into this dispenser, it would block up the minecart, cause all sorts of problems. But as you can see and hear, it looks like we stopped sorting items. There's still stuff in the chest. What's going on? Well, this circuit down here actually caught that item and detected that the sorter had broken and shut itself off. So you can see this circuit right here is a dispenser that will, if there's a minecart in the dispenser, shoot it onto this rail and then send it off over here where it'll turn back into an item and go up the elevator. But if it's a regular item, it'll just get shot out, get picked up by this hopper, go into this chest, and then it'll get detected by this comparator, and it will power this piston, which, as you can see, gets in the way of this purple clock and shuts off the sorter. So you will have to come back over here, pull out the garbage, and then also break one of these carts in order to get the sorter back running again. But then if I check this back in here, we'll sort this block again, why not? And then I'll put these back, and we should be up and running again. So, gone are the days of a single flaw causing catastrophic failure to the entire sorter, because even if something goes wrong, it can detect that something went wrong and shut itself off to give you time to go and fix whatever the problem was before everything gets absolutely destroyed. So that's probably one of the biggest pros of this new system. Again, if you already built a system that was working, the version 1 design or the version 1.1 design, you don't have to build this. You don't have to worry about detecting when it breaks because it doesn't break. So lucky you. But for everybody else, this will be an absolute godsend to have. So changed this, changed the item elevator, had to rework this red circuit a little bit in order to make room for this piston. You can see that the 16 stackable circuit got considerably larger, and that's just based on how this red circuit is positioned. It's now a lot harder to get an input out of this, so you have to take this input all the way around instead of just being able to go straight down. It's honestly not that big of a deal, but this is also a completely optional circuit. Actually, let me show how this works. Let me grab some 16 stackables, stick it into 16 stackable mode, and send those on their way. And we'll check again later to see if they made it into the chest. Well, back to going over what the new redstone is. This blue circuit is the exact same, I think. I don't think the blue circuit changed at all, except for maybe some slabs now going into different places in order to not lock any hoppers. The hopper minecart storage system is in a different spot. This is a bubble elevator now, or it was a bubble elevator, but it doesn't have scaffolding because carts were getting stuck on scaffolding. So there is a whole lot of issues that have been fixed here. And speaking of carts getting stuck on scaffolding, that's why there is a complete redesign of the slices. It's kind of hard to tell right here, except I have built a model of the new slices, and looking at this, I'm not gonna lie, it looks absolutely disgusting. There's just water everywhere. There's random stairs. The rails don't even look like they connect to each other. The hoppers have blocks over them, so how are these hoppers even doing anything? It's complicated, but the basics of it is 2no2name discovered that you could get water to flow in a 1 block gap. So you can see this is a single block of water and it's pushing me. And that discovery allowed for compacting of a lot of cart circuits, including this one, and it enabled it to make sure that no cart can ever possibly get stuck inside this system. There were some people who were having issues where maybe the server would lag and the cart would completely stop and it would get stuck in the wiring in here and it would break everything and you'd have to go in and manually destroy the cart, and that was a big headache. But with this new slice, if you were encountering that problem, I do believe it is now impossible for that to ever happen. It doesn't matter which rail I click on. It's kind of hard because of all these barrier blocks holding in the water, but I can put a cart on any rail in here and the water will push it and make sure that it can get going and basically not get stuck. Before we get into the tutorial, I want to give a huge shout out to 3 people who helped me debug this system on Discord: Cam, Keruc, and Tiuraz. They were all super, super helpful. They all reached out with issues with the original system and just were willing to build my Frankenstein prototype contraptions in their own worlds in order to see if they worked. And it was such a huge help. And without them, I would not have been able to test if this actually worked because, like I said, it works whenever I build it. It works on my servers. It works on my like local machine. So I have to have help from other people to see if any of my fixes will actually solve any problems that people are having. So again, huge shout out to those guys, and let's get into the tutorial now. Okay, so I'm back in the world download for the previous version, and I've basically taken the input system and stripped all of the redstone out of it. So if you're going to fix the input system, you are going to have to strip out pretty much all of it. You could keep the minecart track and this elevator here. They only will need very, very minor modifications, so I've left them here. There's also some things in the input logic that you could have kept, but in order to not accidentally have any bugs or miss anything, I think it's best to just strip it all out and start from scratch. So the place that we're going to start is over here with the new yellow circuit. So you're going to want to take this hopper that comes out of the end of the minecart return system, and you're going to come down 2, and then you're going to take a dispenser pointing forwards, and that's going to shoot onto a hopper pointing down. Then you're going to need a block up like this with an activator rail. You're going to need a block over with a powered rail, and then this is going to go onto a cart eater like this. So now that these rails are placed, I can power this, which will power these rails. This activator rail, I'm going to want to break that and put another block here. And then for this powered rail, I will just put a lever there. I'm going to need a slab, and I'm going to need a... What am I going to need? I forgot, trapdoor. Sorry about that. The slab's going to go here, the trapdoor is going to go here. We're going to have blocks like this with a rail, and then you're going to need a pressure plate right here, and then this is going to go into another bubble elevator. So I'll cover this up for now. I'll grab some water, put the water there, water there. Next, you're going to need a chest that will be below this. And then next to the chest, you're going to need a comparator. And that's going to be pointing out. So that, oh, wait, I forgot the most logic of the entire circuit. You're going to need to build a yellow circuit over here. So you're going to need redstone like this. The comparator is going to point out of the dispenser. It's going to point into a block, redstone, block, and a repeater. And that should be all of the logic for the yellow circuit. So if I take some minecarts and I dump them into this hopper, they should get broken and end up going up into that water elevator. But if I put anything else, it will trigger this comparator. Perfect. So let me just reset this. And now I'm going to build up this bubble elevator while I still have room, while everything else is stripped out. One thing that I want to note here is that this glass will get into the way of this single slice. And if you are going to be upgrading the slices, one of the things that you have to do is put levers here. Except that won't work because there's a glass block. All you have to do for this slice is put a lever here instead. Again, if you're not upgrading the slices, you don't have to do this. But if you are upgrading the slices, remember that on this particular one, the first slice, you're going to have to put a lever here instead of here. Okay, so let me finish building up this water elevator. Don't know how high it's going to be yet, so I'll just build it to here. This seems good. Fill it all up with water. And we're perfect. Okay, next thing that we're going to want to do is the red circuit. So let me grab some red. We're going to build something like this. I'm going to grab my target block. And then we're going to want to do this with a comparator. Redstone. Oh, the target block is actually going to go there. We're going to have a torch on the target block, a repeater with 3 ticks there. We're going to have a torch down here. Oh, whoops, I built this at the wrong level. That's my bad. This red block should go here. Then we're going to have the torch, redstone, pointing into a target block like this with repeater on 3 ticks, torch, block. Let's see if I can get this angle. There we go. Comparator and dust. So this is just the logic to turn off the system if the chest empties. After that, we can go into the purple circuit. So you're going to take a block out of this with a torch on it. You're going to go out with a dust and then a repeater on 2 ticks. Block there. Blocks like this with dust going down. A repeater on 4 ticks into a block like that. And then you're going to take 4 blocks out. 4 ticks on all of these repeaters. Piston pointing up with a block on it. And then another 4-tick repeater. So now we should have the clock going. If I give this a quick pulse, should have our clock circuit. Oh, as long as there's an item in the chest, because we have the red circuit too. So if there's an item in the chest, this thing should clock around, and if there's no items, it should stop. Perfect. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to want to build is the minecart dispensing circuit. So you're going to have a dispenser placed right here with a block behind it and a repeater on 4 ticks with a block up like this. This is pointing into another block with a note block and an observer pointing out of the note block. On this note block, you're going to want to put a glass block above and below it so that it doesn't get updated, because you might not know, but putting a block above or below a note block, or I guess maybe it's just below it. Okay, I guess maybe it just doesn't want to show off. There we go. If you put a block below a note block, it will trigger an observer, and that can cause problems if you accidentally spill water into the circuit, so we're just going to cover these up. After that, we're going to put 2 droppers, not dispensers, like this, with hoppers behind them. Hoppers like this. And then you're also going to want a hopper pointing down under this one with a hopper pointing like that. Okay, you're going to put a hopper into here, 2 hoppers like this, and another hopper here, and then you're going to grab a chest and stick your chest like that. Perfect. Last thing that we want to do for this circuit is grab a redstone block and put it here. Then I'll just grab a regular block like this, and then carry this minecart out like that. So now what this will do is every single time that the clock pulses, it's going to power and then unpower this note block, which will trigger each of these droppers to dispense 2 times. So there will be exactly 4 minecarts that get pushed into these 2 hoppers, and then a minecart will get shot out of this dispenser, go under, pick up the exactly 4 hoppers, and then, or the 4 hopper carts, and then it's going to go into the circuit like normal. And I could test that right now, but I would have to chuck a bunch of carts in here. Why not? So it might take a little bit for all of these hoppers to fill up back here. So you can see that happening. I'll speed up the process a little bit like that. Okay. Perfect. And now we should see that if I chuck 32 items in here and then flick this lever, it'll get dispensed, then it'll come off, and it'll have 4 minecart hoppers, 32 soul sand, and both of these will be empty still. Perfect. On that note, we should probably add a lever to power these rails. I'll just put it next to this soul sand. Now we have that minecart track going. We'll finish this minecart track at the same time. So you're going to need stairs. So I'm going to break that, and I'm going to replace this with a bubble elevator, or it was a bubble elevator before, but I'm going to make it completely watered. I'm going to get rid of the scaffolding because it's possible that minecarts can get stuck on the scaffolding. So you're just going to want to do that. Pretty easy fix. Okay, after this, let's grab some composters to put on top of these things. You can put ones on top of those 2 and on top of these 2. This one is going to have a slab on top of it eventually. You're going to put hoppers like this, and then this is where your minecart storage will go. So I'll connect that up to this system right here. I'll bring this across like this, or let's do it like this. I'm going to put a hopper here. I'm going to put blocks around to make sure that the water doesn't spill everywhere. And then we'll let it out, and I'm going to grab a trapdoor to make sure that the minecarts don't go flying out. Or you could also just put a block right here. I like doing a trapdoor because it's smaller. So now, if we have our minecarts coming here, it's going to go down into this input. Perfect. Second to last thing that we have to do is the blue circuit. This is largely the same as before, so I'm going to have a block there with a repeater, and have a block up like this. This is going to staircase all the way up to the same level as this slab. I'm going to put 3 blocks up like this, with blocks out. Over here, we're also going to put blocks. I'm going to grab my comparators, which I already have. 3 comparators like this. Redstone here, redstone all the way down, redstone all the way across to here. This one next to this hopper will be a repeater on 4 ticks. I'm not going to forget this time. And then we're going to have a piston with an observer pointing down. And then the very last part is we're going to actually have to hook this up to the system. So I'm going to have a repeater here, a slab, and then I'm going to carry up the redstone. So that should be the whole system working except for the 16 stackables. But let's do a quick test run on this. I'm going to check a whole bunch of more minecarts in there, and then I'll try out 64 of these, 64 of these, 64 of these, and we'll see how it goes. I forgot a single torch. Boom. There we go. And it looks like it is working. So we'll see these go out 32 at a time. If for some reason you get less than 32, if you have only 31 items get taken out, what you can do is come over here and increase this repeater by 1 more. I don't know how the tolerances work exactly. It's like based on directionality. Sometimes it'll take one plus or minus 1 item depending on where you build this thing. So if you're not getting at least 32, just click this repeater 1 more time. Very last step is the orange circuit. You're going to want to put an orange block here. You're going to drag these all the way across. You're going to have a block under that, like that, with a torch under it. Make sure that this thing's not running, because putting this torch here will break it if it is running. So we're good here. Going to have redstone, 4 ticks, an orange block with a torch on it, 4 ticks here, and then 1 tick there with a redstone dust. And then in the showcase part of the video, I showed a different setup for this. So I had the lever right here. If you want the lever right here, you'll break this stone block and put redstone like this. A repeater, dust, and another repeater out like this. And then if the lever is flipped up, you're going to be sorting 16 stackables, and if it's flipped down, you're going to be sorting 32 stackables or 64 stackables. If you want to have the lever in the other spot, like in the previous version, you have the lever here. It's a bit less redstone. So we just do this, dust, torch, block, redstone. And there we go. So if this light is off, you're sorting normally. If it's on, you're sorting 16 stackables. Let's show that off real quick. I'll grab pearl and a bucket because I have a slice that's already set up to sort these. 16 stackable mode is on. And we should see that these get 14 items taken out. Yes, perfect. And it should end up over here in this slice in just a second. So we'll watch for the cart. Here it comes. And perfect. There we go. Our items are flowing in. All right. That just about does it for the tutorial section for the input system. I'll jump on over to the tutorial for the slice system if you need to upgrade that as well. Really quick thing that I want to mention before you rebuild your whole slice system is that if you have already built the input, I would test the sorter first with your existing slices from the previous version, and there's a very good chance that it'll just work. And if it does work, then you don't have to bother with building these new slices. If you are having carts get it stuck here, or you're still having items that are going through and ending up in this chest down here and triggering the piston, if that's happening to you, you might want to rebuild the slices. And I'll get into the tutorial for how to do that here in just 1 second. If you want to rework the slices, you're going to have to start by basically gutting most of the slices. You can keep the minecart yeeting system and you can keep the whitelister. However, you're going to need to get rid of all of the rail logic in the middle because that's what we're trying to fix. And first thing that you're going to want to do is probably, if you have this connected up to anything, this return line here, you disconnect it. Remember to get that connected back up after you finish. And then you're going to want to get rid of all of these and replace these with double chests out like this. After that, you're going to want to put 2 hoppers pointing into these chests, and then a row of blocks behind these hoppers. And then you can, or we'll hold off on the rails for now. After that, you're going to want to put a row of temporary blocks like this, and another row of temporary blocks up here. And then, let me grab some stairs. We're going to put upside down stairs pointing into these 2 rows of blocks. And then remove the temporary blocks. And then you're going to want to put a hopper, oops, over all of these chests, pointing straight down into it. Now we could start to put in our rails. So you're going to put the rails like this. Whoops. Sometimes the direction of the rails will be a little bit annoying to deal with. We'll probably speed through this because it seems like I have a bad direction here. And make sure that you have these blocks back here powered. In order to keep these rails powered. After that, you're probably going to want to cap off these ends, and then we're going to start filling stuff up with water. So you can come along here and fill in all of these stairs. Make sure that you waterlog all of the stairs. Then you can waterlog all of these rails. Let me get a fence gate here actually really quick so that I can get in and out without the water spilling out. And once these are all waterlogged, you're going to want to waterlog all of these ones too. Let me get the gates again. You're going to waterlog all of this. Make sure that these are all sources. After waterlogging all that, we can put in the new rail system. In order to account for this water being here, we can't power these rails directly anymore, so we're going to have to alternate detector rails and powered rails. So you want your first chest to be a powered rail, and then you can swap back and forth between powered and detector rails. Then I'm going to hook that up. I'm going to give myself another gate. I accidentally took my water away. And now I'm going to fill up, oops. And now I'm going to fill up all of these with water. And then I'm also going to fill these with water. Don't shift click onto these stairs. Or I guess do shift click onto the stairs? Yes, do shift click onto the stairs. But you're going to want to waterlock these stairs again anyway, so I'll cover that up. Make sure that those don't flow out. And then, actually, I made a mistake with these rails. These should be blocks with rails on them. And these rails are going to come back this way. You're going to want a hopper pointing into all of these chests, with the rails going up. We'll finish off the miscellaneous slice a little bit later, I think. After that, you're going to want to take trapdoors and put your trapdoors like this. Oops. We're going to make sure that the water doesn't flow out, and then we're going to waterlog these. I'll put a block here. or let's use wool for the misc slice. After that, you're going to put a row of temporary blocks above these chests. Then you're going to go through with rails and or stairs and put upside down stairs like this. Put more upside down stairs like this. You can remove these temporary blocks. You're going to continue up the minecart rails like this. Then you're going to put trapdoors on all of these rails and open those. And then, I bet you guessed it, we're going to waterlog all of that. So let's make sure that nothing flows out. In this spot, you're going to want a redstone block. Right here. And then we're going to pull these rails down. And now we're going to waterlog these stairs right here by clicking on the front of them. Whoops, that one was already waterlogged. Then we can waterlog these by clicking on the back. Then we can waterlog these. Now finally, we're going to take a couple more trapdoors, put them onto these redstone blocks, and then open all of these trapdoors. And then on these slices that have composters, we'll just put an extra block there. Now we can finally continue out to the rails. And these slices should be done. We'll give it a quick little test. Let's try with gold ore. Oh, wait a second, gotta remember. Nothing fell into here, which is great, but I'm in creative, so in survival there will definitely be stuff in there. Make sure that you clear it out before connecting it back up. So let's give it a little test with some gold ore. We'll see how it goes. Boom. Perfect. Yep, we got our one extra gold ore. Nice. So these slices are working. I also should mention that these blocks don't have to be fence gates. I just had them as fence gates so that I could get into the redstone and mess around in there and not get blocked off. But you can have these just be regular old blocks. And you should make sure to waterlog the rail right before going into the slice, like I mentioned in the previous video, with soul sand on it. Also, this final slice right here, for the misc items, we're going to want to get rid of that rail. This can be soul sand. I think I had it as mud in the last video. This can be soul sand. It can be a slab if you wanted it. But we are going to need a single amethyst shard for this, and you're going to put that right on the very end. So now, if we have a fence gate go into the system, it should make it all the way to the misc, make its way along, and drop off our fence gate into the slice. Perfect. Okay, a couple more things that I want to mention with the sorter that quite a lot of people have been asking about is, can you replace the mud blocks? You can replace the mud blocks here. They can be soul sand, they can be carpets, they could just be any block that doesn't have a full top. I like using slabs now that I've discovered this because it matches with the stairs and makes it look really cool. Something else that you might want to do is take a lightning rod and add a lightning rod so that your minecarts don't accidentally get struck by lightning if this thing is out in the open. Because if a lightning rod, or if a lightning strikes a minecart, it could break the minecart and then it could break the system. So just if you're building this exposed to the air, you might want to have a lightning rod. This filters, if you want to add more items to the filters, it's super easy to do. Let's go grab some magenta items. I'll grab some of these. Just basically all of these. Is a bed stackable? No, it's not. And then this thing is 16 stackable, I believe. Yes, perfect. So if you want to add more items, just replace the sticks like this. And then if you want to add a 16 stackable to a slice, then you're going to want to remove 3 of these sticks down at the bottom, because a 16 stackable is worth 4 times more in terms of like comparator weight than a regular item is. So when you put in the 16 stackable item, you take out the stick that was in its place, and then you have to remove 3 more sticks. And if I was going to add another one, I'm going to have to eventually break this sword down into 64 so that I can take out 1, 2, 3 extras. And now you can hear that piston in the background pulsing whenever I do this. So let me put this back to how it was. Perfect. And now if I want to sort some of this stuff, I can 100% do that, except I'm going to wait. I'm going to hold off on sorting the magenta banners until after this stuff is sorted, and then I'm going to turn it into 16 stackable mode and sort out the rest of these. So that should be pretty quick. Watch those going. Yep, it's working. Now I'll chuck these in, flip it into 16 stackable mode, and run those through the system. And we should see everything ending up in the magenta chest down here. So yeah, there's the multi-item sorting capabilities of the sorter finally being shown off. In the previous showcase, I just had 1 item in each of these, and some people were like, wait, I thought this was a multi-item sorter. And that's my bad, because I only showed it sorting single items. So this is how you do multi-item sorting, just like this. And we should see all of our items have shown up here. Perfect. Okay, so that's just about everything that I wanted to mention. Hopefully this thing works on your servers. After doing the upgrade, you might have to upgrade the input system. You might have to even upgrade the slice system. But hopefully these bug fixes should be enough to get the sorter up and running in your world if you were having problems with it before. So I'm super happy to finally have this thing out, and I hope you enjoyed.